ball to come to him. And rather soft dismissal for Asif Sheikh. I think break of the play, that was intentional by Scotland, has taken a wicket.
The break really came from the umpires who wanted to lay down the law to Scotland, but it's interrupted the flow of Asif Sheikh, who's gone for 12. The game turns again. Scotland have 2 in the power play.
Hi Sarwa, hi.
Ada. Vậy. ठीक बात है चैनल लानो की रहे दा ठीक बात
Hi घुमाते हैं देखते हैं
साहब
Powell, the captain, to the crease. Number 4. He's there because of the dismissal of Asif Sheikh, who just found a way to get out, didn't he? He chipped it up to mid-on, and Kyle Coates, maybe 38, but he celebrated more than wholeheartedly. His chase is not going to be easy. Here's the wicket. Just that hint to shape away from Mullen. And very good catch held by Coates. Look at him go. Delight for the former skipper. As we come back live with you now. Powell watchful to start with. Gets us to the end of the 7th over. And we've got a special guest coming to join us in the commentary box in a moment, so don't go anywhere too far. The score remains.
Ooh, hashtag spicy food.
black pepper. Just go white pepper.
Strike limiter.
हमें क्या है तो पेपर के पीछे तो पेपर खाए ना
So as Sharif continues, brings me great delight to welcome a very special guest into the commentary box just as the crowd continues to chant their country's name. A very warm welcome to William Glenn, the General Manager of Development for the ICC, who's in town with a big task at hand. You've got to present that Cricket World Cup League 2 trophy to Scotland. Good afternoon to you, William.
Yes, thanks, Andrew. Wonderful to be back here in Nepal, and hello to your guests all around the world and here in Nepal.
Yeah, huge numbers tuning in live on Kantapur here in Nepal, the national broadcaster. Fans take any vantage point, as you can see here, William. I'm not sure he's paid us 150 rupees, but he's getting a good view from up in the trees. I want to ask you all things associate cricket over the course of the next 7 or 8 overs. We'll have you with us. This is nicely driven down to mid-on. This ICC Men's Cricket World Cup League 2 is part of a pathway towards the road to India 2023. It's been a huge success and a wonderful innovation from the ICC.
Yeah, we're delighted with it, obviously. It's a restructure of our pathway event program from the previous cycle, and it was designed to give our top associate members access to more regular international competition, first and foremost.
Punched into the offside, or be a dot ball. Given that it came at a time during the pandemic, obviously made it all the more challenging, but probably all the more satisfying that it's coming to such an incredible conclusion.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. The pandemic created a logjam, and we're working through that now. I think one of the things we're very proud of, as the members are, is the fact that we didn't cancel any events. We, as much as possible, sought to postpone them so that we could play the full suite of events, given the number of games was one of the... Ensuring a number of games is one of the main priorities of the event.
Light कम कर दिखा
Yeah, that's despite a near 18-month gap in any associate cricket. We saw the full members able to continue in bubbles, but that wouldn't have been possible at this level. And for the 7 sides in this competition, which we'll focus on for the moment, to get 36 ODIs completed and to see the scale of the improvement in all of those countries' cricket has been very heartening.
Yeah, it is, and I think we're only just starting to see that now, but I'm convinced that the performance of the associate teams at last year's Men's T20 World Cup is a reflection of that. And that gap between, well, firstly amongst the top associates and then between the top associates and the full members is closing. But we want that to close even further. We want to see that competitiveness improve, and that's where this event's so important. Yeah, that regularity of fixtures, 36 ODIs over what was initially scheduled to be about 2.5 years, but it's obviously kind of dragged out. You're just going to squeeze everything in. It will be 2 more series after this one concludes today. 1 in Dubai, 1 back here in Kathmandu. I think a fitting place to finale the league in front of. If Nepal keep winning, could be some truly crazy crowd numbers. It will then go to the Cricket World Cup qualifier playoff in Nambia at the end of March, and onto the Cricket World Cup qualifier in Zimbabwe, a 10-team event, all leading towards India. Do you have a real prospect that maybe a Scotland or a Netherlands could actually provide a big upset and get to India? Yeah, well, that's my personal hope, absolutely. And I think the reason we've expanded all of the World Cups, men's and women's 50 over and T20, is because we think the associate members deserve to be there and can be there, and it's through events like this that we hope to build up that competitiveness. So my personal hope is that we do see more associates qualifying for those, and I'd love to see an associate member at the World Cup later this year.
To get to the end of the 8th over, we'll take a look at the points table. I've got William Glenn right here, the General Manager of Development for the ICC, who's been integral, him and his team, in terms of, alongside Jeff Allardyce, who I think is now the ICC Chief Executive, but was the General Manager of Cricket, in terms of helping to put together this pathway that allows the top 32 teams in the world all a chance to qualify for the Cricket World Cup. The 2 challenge leagues beneath, the winners Canada and Jersey, have had very successful campaigns, and every chance that they may get a chance to gain ODI status down in Windhoek next month. Driven for 4. The outfield's very quick here in Kathmandu. Loud cheers greet that stroke from Mala. Not in complete control, but he moves to double figures. That of the kind of potential of losing your ODI status or gaining ODI status, that's something that will add to that event next month.
Yeah, exactly, and I think that's something that the cricket pundits around the world talk about a lot in the associate world, and rightly so. The jeopardy in the associate game is such that a lot hinges on these events, and particularly the qualifiers and ODI status.
Again, driven very nicely to mid-off. It's funny, this year is an interesting year, because the last 2 years there was such a focus on T20 cricket with the back-to-back T20 World Cups, where you rightly said the associates were outstanding, Scotland and Namibia in 2021, and then the Netherlands really took up the flag, finishing not just in the Super 12s but in the top 8 to guarantee automatic qualification for the USA and West Indies in 2024. But this year the associates are having to focus on 2 formats. Nepal will themselves have a chance to qualify, like Scotland will, for a T20 World Cup next year through the new regional qualification structure, as well as the 50 over World Cup. This is the stuff of dreams for associate cricketers from days gone by, where they could barely get a fixture.
Yeah, it is, and look, that's precisely what we set out to achieve. About 4 years ago, was creating more content, more high quality content for the associate members now. Pierces the gap with surgical precision. That's a lovely stroke from Mali. He's a class act. The oldest player in this squad is showing he's got plenty of cricket left in him. Slightly overpitched again. 4 more to the total. Hope you can hear me there, William, next to me. It's a wonderful environment. This is the second cricket event I've been to in Nepal, and it's an assault on the senses, that's for sure. And I think that's that's a measure in both the associate and the full member world. There are very few crowds like this which you experience here in Nepal and world cricket. It's food for the soul.
Reminder, it's a Tuesday afternoon. It's 1:30 p.m. There's no floodlights here at this gorgeous little ground.
No, I was reminded of that actually. The first match I saw, which I think was back in the old League 2 days, of the 2 days of the old World Cricket League, which was Kenya and Nepal, and the light was fading fast. But I think courtesy of about 15,000 phone lights here around the ground, we just got through the match. But that was an amazing experience.
I think every time anyone who loves their cricket comes here to Kathmandu, they're struck by the passion for the sport.
No, Disney.
It's the cut shot of the skipper pedal through to keeper. 9 overs gone now, 29 for 2. Got Glenn right with me, the general manager for development of the ICC. We'll just have another look at that points table. Just explain this. The top 3 will go automatically to.
Keep on pumping the feeling, get charged. That is what you want to be. Get charged.
भाव किन तार भइन्छ तु
There wasn't enough content. More and more of our associate members are starting to centrally contract their players. That's true of the men's and women's game. And in order to justify that investment, and it's a big investment for many of our members, they want to be able to play more cricket, more competitive cricket in more settings around the world and getting used to playing on the conditions. So that was certainly the first amount of feedback we got.
Guided away, showing real touch now, Mala. And the fans have got the Ronaldo celebration in the crowd there. They love Gayanendra Mala, the former captain, at this ground. And this is a lovely touch stroke, not very wide, but right out of the middle of the bat and runs away. Outfield's always quick, you get good value. Look at that man there, and that one. Both loving it. As the run's starting to come now for Nepal.
And then the second piece of feedback was, as you pointed out, to the meritocracy, ensuring that all 32 members of the competition structure have the opportunity to qualify for the World Cup. And we've looked to do that in all of our pathway events. In the T20 World Cup for both men's and women's, ensuring all members, and now with the new structure, are only 2 steps away from the tournament and from the World Cup itself. So that meritocracy that you talked about before was an important and remains an important principle of all the pathway events that we've established.
And we've seen the likes of Ireland and Afghanistan ascend through a different structure, albeit get through that structure to now full member status due to their performances on the pitch. Talking about the current structure, what about the future structures? I know there'll be certain things you won't be able to confirm maybe just yet, but one thing is certain, from the next right cycle, and they run in 8-year cycles, from 2024 to 2031, all of the ICC global events are going to expand. The T20 World Cup for the men will go to 20 teams, the ODI World Cup will return to 14 teams in 2027. And the women's events too will start to expand. The T20 World Cup and the 50 over World Cup. How will you be able to pull together the pathway with those enhanced playing numbers at the top level?
Well, I think there's a couple of elements to that, Andrew. One is creating a pathway that, like we've seen here in League 2, creates compelling and competitive cricket for the members and for the top associates, regular international cricket. And so as we devise the pathway event structures for that is a principle that remains in place and remains at the forefront of thinking. And then the second element is, how do we ensure that the teams that are most likely to qualify or do qualify for the events are competitive? And we saw, at the under-9, the Women's Under-19 World Cup just recently, the inaugural Women's T20 World Cup, just how much that has closed between the associate and full members.
Yeah, I think that story. You take a look at the current state of play, the match summary. It's 213 that Nepal will need to win. They're behind the red at the moment, but they only need about 4.5 and over, so it's very manageable. Got William Glenwright with me, the General Manager for Development from the ICC. He's telling us all about the future pathways. Please keep enlightening us, Will.
Yeah, and so we were just touching on before about the competitive. So one philosophy that we look to apply in developing the pathway event structures is that regular content and regular high-level international competition. The second is improving the competitiveness. So how do we work with our members to enhance the high-performance structures that exist in the countries to help prepare the teams for that international competition? And one of the things that the board has asked us to work on at the moment is to develop a high-performance strategy. It will be the ICC's high-performance strategy, and there's some work.
Change in bowling here. Mark Watt comes into the attack. Also a change of ends for him. He's going to come in from the Chobar end of the ground. Highest ranked associate bowler in the world. Real star. The associate members.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot more money that's going to come into the game for the next cycle, and that's that's been a stunning outcome from the commercial department, and a reflection, I think, of the increased competitiveness of international cricket. And so this is the year that we work on building our plans around how we ensure that investment in all levels of the game reaps its rewards.
Thuds into the pad. Given. Mala can't quite believe it. The finger was very quick to go up. It's Rashid Riaz who's given it. He's tended to take a little longer with his decisions, but he's certain that this is just skidded on with the arm. Mala's forward press didn't go anywhere too much. Let's take a look. Full in length. Oh, I wonder, was there maybe a little bit of doubt in that? But the finger went up very quickly. Mala none too happy, but Watt has his second and celebrates heartily. Again, the air, the oxygen sucked out of this crowd as Mala's dismissed for 21.
Both LBWs, I think. What, isn't it? Yes.
Both LBWs from Watt, and the score now 31 for 3.
It's yours.
Kushal Mala out of the crease. In he comes, the young 18-year-old who's had such a good series with bat and ball. Take a look at his numbers so far in Cricket World Cup League 2. Just the 11 appearances, found himself out of the team, but the strike rate is the key. And he only really knows one way how to play. A real local hero too. He'll have the left arm spin of Mark Watt to face, and interestingly mid-on is going to stay up in the circle. An area that Mala loves. Let's take one more look at this LBW. Skidded on with the arm. I wonder, is there any bat involved? I think that's what Mala might have indicated. If not, you can see him there showing it back to the umpire. Look at the celebrations from Scotland. George Munsey, more than a touch pumped up. Don't think just because they've won this league they don't want to win today, Scotland.
3 wicket.
Mala's innings going to be a crucial one. It's off the mark immediately. Still have William Glenn right here with you, which is great to hear. His thoughts were talking about the future for associate cricket. It looks a very bright one.
Yeah, it's bright for the game globally. I mean, it's just thriving at the moment. Seen through the creation of all the new leagues around the world. The Future Tours program that's been announced for the full members, men's and women's, and the enhanced pathway events and the growth of all of the World Cups, as you mentioned before. I think that's just, it's wonderful, the sport. There's more cricket being played. That's generating more money for the game, which means we're in a position to invest more in the growth of the game all around the world, but particularly in our associate members. And this pathway that we're currently part of, these pathway events, it's part of 540 games in this cycle. Come back to that end of the 11th over, score 35 for 3, and those
keep a pumping, a winning, get charged. That is what you want to be. Get charged.
To invest more in that and enhancing it, because the demand from the spectators all around the world has been so great.
Proved right. Let's put it that way.
Much better way to.
And also the support of Dream 11 as well. We see the tosses come in an hour early. We've seen lots of people watching on live on Fan Code in India, getting involved with the fantasy cricket. It's a great way to engage fans and kind of build up the heroes at this associate level, the likes of Safian Sharif, Mark Watt, George Munsey. These are world-class players. And they're finally probably getting a bit more of the treatment that they deserve.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I think you've said it perfectly. They are world-class players. These are world-class teams, and I think that's one of the things that's particularly important, particularly when we look at at the World Cups and the performance of the associate members there. But that's which in and of itself is an outstanding reflection of those members. But as we talk about during the tournament, those associate members have beaten 86 other countries or 90 other countries to have qualified. So they are genuine world-class teams that are made up of genuinely world-class players. And part of our role as an international federation, particularly for the
बंद करो खाली खेलता निमोनचं खेळत असेल तर माझ्या इथे
हक दिलवाले ना जो
पूरा
जीत सुन निकल नो
300 आराम से चीज कर ली भाई
एशिया कप के क्वालिफायर हुए थे सर्वस तो हम ही कहते थे नेपाल के लिए इंडिया के लिए पाकिस्तान के लिए बांग्लादेश के लिए यो के लिए सर्व
अपने देखे
on your screen, 18 years of age. Very fine talent. Is that something you're almost looking at a cohesive approach with the leagues complementing international cricket?
I think that's the reality of the game now, and it's an economic reality. It's a cricket reality, and ultimately it's good for the sport. The more playing opportunities there are, and the more professional opportunities that provides, particularly for the associate members, I think is a good thing for the game.
I know it's not your role, and you won't be able to dictate to a member as to how they run their leagues, but we've seen the IL20 have a guaranteed associate spot, a couple of places for UAE players. I think in the women's IPL draft, a guaranteed spot for associates. That's something you'd like to see more of, a real associate angle to those leagues where possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think what's been so pleasing about those initiatives, and they are those two examples are outstanding initiatives. All at the strategic imperative of the member themselves. We've had no role to play in that, but I think what that is saying to the members and to the game more broadly is that, as we talked about earlier, the quality of cricket in the associate world is improving, and the players within these teams are increasingly world class, and they're being selected on account of their own unique talents. Yeah, we've seen franchise leagues obviously here in Nepal as well, and hopefully the return of more of those in the future. Again, just expanding those playing opportunities for local players. Let me ask you a little bit more about T20 cricket. I know the focus right now is on the 50-over game, the road to India, as part of the pathway that we're in, the Cricket World Cup pathway. But that decision, probably 4 or 5 years ago now, to give T20I status to all associate members with a much more relaxed philosophy, allowing the men's and women's side to get that status. How successful has that been 4 or 5 years on? Again, I think when we made that decision, we weren't quite aware of the impact that it would have. I mean, anecdotally, we knew that it would be successful because logic would suggest that you provide T20I status to all members, that they will play more T20I cricket. The result, though, has been quite extraordinary. So last year, for example, associate members played more bilateral T20 cricket in the women's game than the full members. And in fact, the associates played more bilateral women's T20s than they played men's T20s. So particularly for the women's game, which has just got an incredible energy about it at the moment, that decision to award T20I status to all members has had a profound impact on the game, particularly the women's game. Very competitive qualifier, wasn't there, leading in to South Africa? That was held last September in the UAE. Bangladesh and Ireland taking those 2 spots. End of the 12th over. Just the 2 wides come from that women's 37 for 3.
Keep on pumping, you're winning, get charged. That is what you want to be. Get charged.
It only always highly competitive and highly entertaining, but now the remaining 8 places will go to the associates, will go through the 5 regions. Can you explain the thinking behind that?
Yeah, and I think firstly, I think that's a valid point, because that global qualifier was an incredible event, and I think any event where you bring the top associates together in the one competition and in the one competitive environment creates outstanding.
Big shot attempted and sharp turn on offer from Mark Watt. A lot happening out there, but he'll yet to get off the mark.
So I can understand why there is disappointment why that event is continuing. The rationale for it, though, is
फाइदा खाता खोल्दा छैन कुनै सीमा घातक रोग र दुर्घटनामा 84 लाख बीमा
डेबिट कार्ड क्रेडिट लकरमा छैन शुल्क मेरो शेयर डिमना खाता एटीएम निशुल्क
एनआईसी एसियाको बचत खाता
बैंक चोर था बा साल में एक बेर पैसा मार दो लाई 500 रुपैयाँ मार दो लाई बहुत बेर भयो बाटे छ
तर त्यो भन्दा पनि गाह्रो छ सुतिरहेकी मेरी प्यारी छोरीलाई लामखुट्टेहरुबाट जोगाउन यसमा छ फ्ल्याश पेपर्स जसले घरका सबै लामखुट्टेहरु भगाउँछ यसको फ्ल्याश एटीएम बा आइकाको लागि
एटीएम बहुत ज्यादा बा हर ठाउँ में
Keep on pumping, you're winning, get charged. That is what you want to be. Get charged.
ल तिमीहरुको फेभरेट टोस्ट
Morning, Dad.
एकछिन थ्यांक यू हामी त सुरु गर्छौं हाम्रो दिन विथ डाबर हनी ब्रेकफास्ट तपाईको हेल्दी ट्विस्ट डाबर हनीको
यो समय हो समृद्ध राष्ट्र निर्माणको मेरो देश मेरो जगदम्बा
Joy, papaya sun, joy, beautiful by nature. Tobacco favorite, real aba, naya trendy pet bottle ma. Citizens Bank, your partner for progress. Frontline Hospital, Purano Baneshwar, Kathmandu. Mero Desh, Mero Jagadamba Cement. Dokla Chia, Afri Bagan Ko Taja Chia. Morgan International College and School, Basundhara, Kathmandu. All out Lamkuteku Yamras. Current hot and spicy noodles.
proud to be associated with Kantipur Samachar.
मैच चला था तीन बॉल पर तो पीछे को काटने लगा रहा हूँ बॉल फेंकी गलत तल पर चार आ गया
नमस्कार कान्तिपुर समाचारमा स्वागत छ अहिलेका मुख्य समाचारबाट विज्ञान प्रविधिको प्रयोग बिना देश विकास हुन नसक्ने प्रधानमन्त्री